Tim, can you hear us? Can you hear us
Now I
now?
can hear you, Nick. Can you
Okay, we can
guys
hear
hear
you.
us?
Perfect. Yep.
Okay. Okay, I think we'll kick it off. Taking questions for X. Michael, you had a first question.
Yeah, X, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Obviously, a tough one today. Just to kind of get things started, I'm curious. When you guys played them a couple months ago, it really wasn't even close. And today, you guys were right there for 40 minutes. What changed from this time, from last time, and what gave you guys the confidence that you could compete this time?
Well, we just came into the game knowing that, we really didn't have anything to lose because of the last two times we met them. And maybe that they wouldn't expect us to come out the way that we did and kind of slow the game down and cut the possessions in half. And, we just played like we didn't have anything to lose, and we gave it all we got. And we just, tried to give ourselves a chance and let the chips fall where they may.
Cody?
X, you told me, I believe, around the Boise State series that you weren't comfortable just being a role player, and you kind of told yourself, I'm going to shoot, and I'm going to go out there and, give it what I got and just put it all out there. That internal discussion you had with yourself has really paid off. What does that feel like to let it all out and produce the way you've produced over the last couple of months?
It feels good. I just feel like myself. Obviously, tonight or today, it wasn't enough to get the job done. But like I said, we just gave ourselves a chance. I felt like everybody played really hard, gave it all they had, and we just all left it all out there on the line. And, we just tried to give ourselves a chance at the end of the day.
Tracy?
With the youth of this team and with everybody back next year, from the experience that you had against San Diego State, both earlier in the season and now, how much of a growth can come out of that? How much can help you guys when you approach next year?
Well, I just feel like since the beginning of the season to now, we've grown tremendously, like in ways that people don't see because of all the work we put in behind the scenes. But, just after that game and the two other times we played them, obviously we were able to see what a championship-level team looks like, how they communicate on the floor, how they play so hard. And we're just trying to take that and implement every little bit of it we can into what we do in our program. So that way, either next season, the season after that, or seasons down the line, we can be that championship team that people look up to and are worried about.
Cody?
X, you guys scored 111 points yesterday, and then you, in 24 hours, come up with a game plan. What did you think when you first heard this was the game plan? And you guys obviously bought into it.
Well, definitely at first I was a little just thrown off about it because nobody was expecting it really. Obviously, they sure as heck didn't. But we just stuck to it. We know we have one of the smartest coaches in the world. So whatever he says, we just stick to it and try to do it to the best of our ability and just try to execute the game plan.
Davis, I think you were next.
X, when you guys are used to playing a more up and down game, faster tempo, is it harder on that quick of a turnaround to slow it down and give yourself a chance in a more methodical game, I guess?
I don't think so because we were able to catch our breath and kind of utilize that to play as hard as we can on the defensive end because when our defense is our offense, that's when we're at our best. And obviously we pick and chose our moments where we can get downhill and play a little bit faster than we were trying to. But we were just trying to slow the game down and cut the possessions in half and give ourselves a chance to win against a championship level team.
Cody?
X, what are the emotions like in the locker room, and how much can you take from this game into next year and years beyond?
I think myself and everybody can take a lot from this game into next year. Just kind of showing ourselves that like we can really do things in this league, and obviously it comes with everyday work. One day after another, just brick by brick, and one day you're gonna look up and you're gonna have a mansion. So.
Michael?
X, since you stepped on campus over the summer, where have you seen this program grow the most? Like, where do you look back and say, "Wow, we've made really big strides in, blank department"?
I think just becoming everyday guys, not taking days off, possessions off, drills off, reps off, just just like I said earlier, just brick by brick, just growing one step at a time, and just seeing where we can get to, because our ceiling's so high. If we put in the work, I mean, there's no telling how good we could really be.
Davis?
X, I know you guys came in here, this group of freshmen, and you knew the opportunity for playing time was there immediately. But to jump in the fire, from day one, so to speak, and get this sort of experience, how do you think this will help you guys specifically as the young nucleus of this team going forward?
I think just the amount of experience we were able to gather from this year, I think it'll really help us into the years to come, because nothing we see is going to surprise us, because the Utah States of this league, the San Diego States, like, we were able to feel what that's like to play against those types of teams, and I just feel like it's only up from here, really.
Tracy, you had a question?
Yeah, X, what about the idea that, you've got at least 2 more years with this entire team eligible to be playing with you? I mean, you guys have something together to build off of over the next 2 years, not just 1 year. Does that make any difference, you think?
I mean, for us, we're excited, because it means that we're all just going to be able to grow together again and just keep getting better, and better chemistry and everything like that. And then I think for everybody else, I mean, it's really scary for the rest of this league because of how good we could really be.
Any other questions for X? Thanks, X. Appreciate
you.
it.
Thanks, X.
Thanks, X.
Thank you, X. Oh, God.
Guys, I guess they can't see us in the room, so I'm going to let Jeff make a statement, and then I'll call on you after that. So if you'll just raise your hand again. But I'll let Jeff make a statement first.
After the San Jose State game, when everybody thought we were going to be the second coming of probably the Paul Westhead days of the Denver Nuggets, where you're scoring 140 points, we knew that we were going to face a completely different team with San Diego State that was going to challenge us, as they had in the past, as much as anyone. In terms of our discipline and effort, which is something that I've talked about probably ad nauseum this year. But, the biggest thing was knowing that we couldn't go into this game with the same plan that we had last time. Obviously, that didn't work. Lost by an average of 30. So we needed a change. And so, I went to the board last night and I wrote down a word that probably none of them have been ever seen before, purpery. And that means purpery means to have a sudden change, whether that's a 2-run home run when you're down 1 in the 9th inning, and now you walk off, you win the game, but just a sudden change. And that's what we needed going into this game, was a sudden change. We needed to change a few areas. We didn't need to drastically change things. We weren't going to change who we were over the course of 24 hours, but we identified 5 areas that can we just change just a little bit and emphasize to where we give ourselves a chance to win? And the guys probably thought I was a little bit crazy. Someone probably, when I wrote that down, probably got their phones out. Even Maldo had no idea what purpery meant. But we sat down, we watched the second game against San Diego State, and just went through and said, okay, well, what can we do differently? And not just from a coaching staff standpoint, but players. You're the ones out there playing. And we knew, and I knew that, we couldn't play in a high possession game with them. We tried that before. The last time we played them, over the course of 100 possessions defensively, we gave up 149 points. I did think that we could score going into that game, or after that game. We scored 108 points over 100 possessions, which is as much as anybody has scored on them all year. So I felt like we could score, but at the same time, too, as much as they are, as much as talked about them defensively, they're really good offensively, just with their personnel. They do a good job of spacing the floor. And I just knew we couldn't come in here and just run up and down with them. And so my thought process was, let's just try to cut. The first thing was, our first change was, let's cut the game in half. Let's cut the possessions down from 140 to about 110. And give ourselves a chance to kind of rest, because what realize is offensively, they do a good job. They're physical, they set screens, and so now you're sitting down, you're guarding them for 19, 20 seconds, and then now it's a cumulative effect. You're not going to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. You're not going to beat them by sitting there and trying to outscore them. You got to sit there and you got to almost turn into Craig Bowl. You got to ground and pound. And that's kind of what we turned into was Coach Bowl. We're going to run it. We're going to let the time of possession. We're going to let the clock run. We're going to sit here and we're going to rest on offense. And then we're going to get into some actions, which I know it's you don't beat San Diego State by just running around a bunch. I mean, you got to put them in certain situations in space, and you got to create paint touches. And I thought we did a really good job through a few, 4 or 5 different actions to create paint touches, which was one of our second areas that we knew we needed to do. And then from there, knew that from a transition D standpoint, last game, I mean, that's when they really try to, that's when they get you. That's when they go from being up 5 to being up 15, and that's where Shackle, Gomez, Seiko, that's when they get a lot of threes. And so we wanted to minimize those 3 attempts, and we did a hell of a job getting back in transition by just making sure we got back. Not just fooling ourselves because we're not a great offensive rebounding team, so why put ourselves in a position where we can't get back, locate, and take away threes, which we didn't do in the second game. And then we knew we had to pick our poison, and it was going to be, we had to shrink off certain guys and make certain guys beat us. And even though Polium finished the game with 15 and, Butler had 8 points, I mean, that kept them out of the paint. I mean, going into halftime, the first 2 games we played against San Diego State, in the first half, they scored 80 points in the paint. Going into halftime of this game, they had 6 points in the paint. And that was a big, big key for us. And then the 5th one, which I thought we did a great job of, is that, they're a team that when they shoot free throws, I mean, they get a lot of offensive rebounds, and we did a heck of a job of, even though they didn't miss many, but the effort to know that if you don't box out, I mean, they're really dangerous. And so on such a quick turnaround for our guys to execute the game plan, to trust in the coaching staff. I mean, it just says a lot. And that game was a great barometer of where we're at as a program. There's no moral victories. The close isn't good enough. But with such a young group, I think people saw that we're getting better. And that's the only thing you can ask for as a coach is, are we getting better? And right now, we're playing our best basketball at the right time. And just unfortunately, we were 1 possession short. And I'm sure you guys will ask about the last possession, not using a timeout. It's one of those deals where if you watch, I mean, we had trouble. I mean, what you don't realize, you call a timeout in that situation, they're so good at denying the ball and making it really difficult to throw the ball in. So now you call a timeout. Now I look like a hero because, I'm a smart coach. I call a timeout, and then lo and behold, we can't get the ball in bounds, and now we throw it away. Well, same result. I felt like, with Maldo, Marcus up top, that we had the floor spaced right. And you know what? Players got to go make plays. And up until that point, those guys had. And we still got a shot where Marcus Williams, he wants that shot. And I thought he was going to make that shot. He didn't make it, but, for him to be in that situation, that's only going to help him moving forward. And so hindsight's 20/20. I mean, I'll probably go back and I'll kick myself thinking, hey, we could have done this a little bit differently. But it's never just one play. I mean, we missed a couple of free throws down the stretch, front him a 1-on-1, missed some easy shots, but that's part of the game. But you got to put yourself in a position with your discipline and effort that as the season went on, we developed, which it was hard during the midst of COVID and the way practice was. Our guys just did a hell of a job, man, and my staff and our support staff to allow us to have the season that we had. Which only is going to pay off dividends in the long run. I mean, I think people saw that, Wyoming basketball, I mean, we'll be a force to be reckoned with. If we go back and we learn from this and we go back and understand that we better learn from it, and it's a day-by-day process. And I like where we'll be here in time. So, questions?
Cody?
Jeff, tough loss. That was your last post game with your fellas in the locker room. Can you share with us at all what you said to them and how the emotions were?
Yeah, I mean, I think, obviously proud of the effort. I mean, they were disappointed, but also knowing, too, that there's hope. That, guys like Maldo and Thompson who've gone through some tough times, that I think they see hope. They see that there's light at the end of the tunnel. And sometimes it's hard to see that. But when you sit there, when you go and you play a game like that against a team like that, you sit there and say, okay, well, we're close. But then same time too, that was the case at this time last year. But hopefully when things died down a little bit, and hopefully maybe things get back to some sense of normal. That come summertime, now we can really start building those habits. Now you add a couple more pieces to the puzzle. And because everybody else, everybody else is going to be back. Every other team's going to have their players back and add pieces, and we just got to find a way to continue to get better. But I think that's a team, as you saw, that that represents the University of Wyoming, represents the state of Wyoming. It's a team it's going to be tough, Cowboy tough, and they're going to scratch and claw, and that's what we're going to be. And I thought we showed that, and I told the guys that we've come a long ways in the course of the last 9 months, but we still got a long ways to go, but at least we're trending in the right direction.
Davis?
Jeff, that's sort of what I was going to ask too. In terms of building the right habits that you've talked about pretty much all season long, do you feel like this team, particularly on the defensive end, they started to get better in those aspects and give you some confidence going into the offseason? Yeah, no, I think that it was probably just by watching the games, it's quite obvious that guys are getting better, and that's why a lot of teams, that's why it's tough to win with freshmen. And it's probably, considering how much we have won with freshmen, it's a testament to their talent. Those freshmen are talented, and then you got a guy in Jeremiah Oden who has got a lot of talent too. But just the way kind of the season went, but he's still working as hard as anybody to get better, and you add the sophomores to the mix, the juniors, everybody back. I think that they see that, and you could see as especially after we got beat by San Diego State the first time, just the sense of urgency in practice just went up a notch. And it's just in terms of, and it's not necessarily with the way you move, but just the way you communicate. The intensity that in the intent that every possession requires in order to be a championship level team. And so it's not built in a day. It's not built over a month. It's not built over a year. It's just like X was saying, although I'm not sure about building a mansion, but if you keep building brick by brick, you become pretty tough, and that's what we're trying to do.
Michael?
Jeff, toward the end there, it looked like Marcus was trying to miss that free throw. Was that the plan? And can you kind of just take us through what happened there?
Yeah, no, that was he was trying to miss it, but obviously he didn't. So we had something set up to where if he did miss it, we were looking to do something, but he did make it. But we still got a chance. We got the foul, and give credit to Mitchell for stepping up and making his free throws. He had 2 free throws there in terms of front end of one-on-ones where it was a one-possession game, and he stepped up and made them. And that's what a guy that's a player of the year type guy, that's what he does. He closes games.
Tracy?
While everybody can have their people back next year, how many first-year coaches do you think get the opportunity to basically have their team together for 3 years? And how do you look at the opportunity you have that you could really keep this nucleus together for 3 full your first 3 years as opposed to guys changing in?
Yeah, it's exciting, and that's how you have to build it, in my opinion, at the University of Wyoming. It's not, as I've said before, it's not a transfer destination. Now you can get a handful here or there, 1 or 2, but at the end of the day, you got to do it with homegrown guys. Guys that you have to go through some of the growing pains that you have to endure in order for them to be guys that, in the end, guys that are good enough to help you win championships. And I think sometimes, and a lot of times, you don't have guys that are talented enough to do that. Whether they're they're a freshman, but are they talented enough? And I think the exciting part is those guys are more than talented enough. Those guys are really good Mountain West players, and they're going to be really good Mountain West players. And so it's exciting that, to be able, and they're close. That's the thing, that as the season went on, these guys just continue to get closer and closer. And when you have a big group of freshmen, and then you got kind of the returning guys, initially there's somewhat, it's not to say it's cliquish, but you got to blend everyone together. And sometimes Maldo, being like a 40-year-old, trying to figure out and relate to an 18-year-old, he had to kind of figure that out at times, but he did a great job. Maldo and Thompson did a great job of leading, and not just from a vocal standpoint, but just what they do every day, not just on the basketball court, but the classroom, community. I mean, they're as good of human beings that you can ask for. I mean, they're the type of guys you want marrying your daughter. And so it's exciting, but at the same time too, they know they got to get better, and we'll get back to work at that sooner than later.
Coach, your next question is going to be from Bryce Miller, San Diego Union Tribune.
Yeah, Coach, I apologize. You probably covered some of this ground, but we had some overlap with the other Zoom call. A couple lopsided regular season games. What changed so dramatically today?
I think San Diego State having our utmost respect. My guys probably get tired of me talking about San Diego State, but they're the benchmark. And I thought today was going to be a really good test to see where we're really at as a program, to where we're really at in the ground. How far away are we from really competing? And, our guys, I knew they weren't going to be scared. The first 2 times we played them, Graham Ike had just gotten back. Kenny Foster, was hurt. Owen Nelson wasn't available, so we didn't have our full team, which we didn't have our full team up until the UNLV game. And but I think what San Diego State showed us those first times is how just what it looks like and feels like every possession in terms of defensively, offensively, and just how they execute. And knowing how we played and how we lost, that I was like, we're not going in there with the same plan. We got to do something different. If not, we're going to get beat again by 30. And so came up with a game plan over the course of basically about 4 hours, knowing that we couldn't get up and down with them, that we really had to slow it down, and we had to make certain guys try to beat us. And we did a poor job in the second game at San Diego State of allowing guys that we didn't want shooting shots, and the game kind of got away from us. And I thought tonight we did a really good job of trying to force certain guys to beat us and gave ourselves an opportunity to win.
Coach, your next question is from Mark Ziegler, also of the San Diego Union Tribune.
Coach, how much of the decision to take the air out of the ball was knowing you'd played the night before? I mean, in San Diego State's previous quarterfinal games, they've always been close in the first half, and then the team that played the day before just completely hit a wall, and they ran right by them. How much were you cognizant of that and try to limit possessions because of that?
Yeah, I mean, it was more so knowing that, the last 2 times we played them, because we're a team that likes to play fast, but as good as they are defensively, I mean, they're really good offensively. I think sometimes the defense makes people forget offensively how good they are with their personnel, their ability to shoot it. They do a good job of spacing you out. They run good actions to get their best players the ball. And so for me, I knew that we had to really slow it down. We had to cut the game in half. We had to make it from a 140 possession game to about 110 possessions. And by doing that also, I think, they're a team that, even though you don't see it, they're so good defensively that, even for us offensively, who I think we're good and I think we can attack guys as good as anybody, is that they're so solid that they make you expend so much energy offensively to try to create advantages. And so now on the defensive end, you're sitting down your garden for about 18 to 20 seconds, and now you come down the other end, and it's like a football team that's really good at running the football. They just wear you out, and eventually you just break. And so we knew that we had to rest a little bit on offense, knowing that we had some success from the second game offensively in terms of putting them in certain spacing situations that would create the advantage without having to move the ball a bunch. And I think the other thing that happens, too, when you move the ball a bunch against San Diego State is now you bring the turnovers into the equation. And then now off of turnovers, those guys get out in transition, and that's when they go from, you being up 5 to 10 to now being down 20. And so I thought we did a really good job on a short notice of implementing the game plan and executing the game plan, and gave ourselves a chance.
Thanks.
Any other questions for Coach Linder?
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Jeff.
Jeff.